Okay, before I begin my prepared remarks, I feel like I got to run the gauntlet. First, I'll give you £1,000 right now if you could tell me the U.S. citizen that was deported under Donald Trump. You said that twice. Yeah, the U.S. citizen that was deported under Donald Trump. Can anyone tell me? £1,000. I'll give it to you right now. Yeah, name? Wrong, not a U.S. citizen. Citizen of El Salvador. Anyone else? U.S. citizen, deported under Trump. Nope, that was a lie. You should know better than that. You go to Oxford, so that is a correction. Number two, can you tell me when it comes to Charlottesville, something that you said when Donald Trump said that there were people on both sides, he was actually talking about the statue debate, not what you said, so that's a hoax. That's line number two. Oh yeah, you said that somebody over here said something about Pete Hegseth being nothing more than a TV host. You should also mention that he was a service member of the military. Nope. Sorry, I'm going to talk uninterruptedly. Thank you. Service member and was a decorated war hero. Funny you didn't mention that. Oh yes, January 6th came up multiple times from, you tried your best, but from you and from the opposition. It's not an insurrection. You called them all rioters. It's funny. A small percentage of the people that were actually there on January 6th did anything violently. The vast majority walked into the Capitol building after they were invited. Also, back to your point, I certainly hope Reform and AFD wins. So I hope that it's not to teach Trump a lesson that he goes too far. We'll get to that in a second. Finally, the Donald Duck, really, like what was that all about? What is this jar? I have no idea what you're talking about in the back of the room. It's like, it's completely lost on me. So I don't know what that's all about. Also, on the Canadian border, the professor failed to mention that the Canadian border was closed. President Trump said fentanyl, and the amount of terrorists that are coming across the Canadian border, of which the most terrorists that come into America come across the Canadian border on the terrorist watch list. You did not mention that. And finally, Professor, you never heard of it in South Africa. Interesting. You never heard of that. The fact that a major political party in South Africa says, quote, kill the Boers, kill the Boers. I would expect more of somebody who wrote a dissertation and teaches here at Oxford to say that you would not know about the attempted slaughter and genocide of white South Africans. Okay, now on to, I'm sure there's lots of POIs, and I will talk uninterrupted. Now to my remarks, but actually, is that all of it? Let me see here. Yeah, that's just a taste. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here tonight. Thank you to the Oxford Union for inviting me. I never went to university. I take that as a great compliment. So therefore, everyone who went to university should be able to run circles around me. You'll be the judge, but I'll do my best. Has Donald Trump gone too far? Well, I can nitpick at how vague that question is. What is too far, exactly? Are his tweets too long? Can all of us even agree on what we're aiming at? I don't think so. The truth is this. If you dislike the West, and if you hate the West's values, if you think the West is evil fundamentally and deserves to be destroyed, then anything Donald Trump does basically short of surrender will be too far for you. If I was visiting this school 100 years ago, speaking in support of an American president, I think we would at least have some broad agreement on what a country's leader should be trying to do. But we don't anymore. I don't think it's because America's changed. In fact, I think it's because Britain has changed. From my perspective, Britain is one of the greatest countries in the history of the world. You were the country of Shakespeare, the steam engine, and Adam Smith. You defeated Napoleon, you destroyed the slave trade, you stood up to Hitler. My country, America, became great as it is because of what we inherited from you, from Britain. When I hear the slogan, "Make America Great Again," I'm also hearing, quote, "Return America to its British roots." Great Britain has everything in the world to be proud of. But when I look at Britain today, I see a country where the ruling elites are in a race to abandon the very values, the values that made them so great in the first place. I wish I could blame this all on labor, all on the left, but I can't. This country just had its 14th uninterrupted year of so-called conservative rule. And what did they conserve exactly? Well, they didn't conserve the ancient British rights to freedom of speech. In Britain today, 30 people a day are arrested for offensive posts on social media, according to The Telegraph. Praying silently within 600 feet of an abortion clinic can get you arrested in Scotland, as a 74-year-old woman named Rose just learned weeks ago. Members of Parliament scold British citizens for thinking they have the right to say that they do not have the right to say things that offend Muslims. 14 years of conservative rule didn't conserve British prosperity. Adjusted for inflation cost of living, the average British worker makes less today than they did in 2008. Outside of London, the British have lower incomes than every one of America's 50 states, and it never used to be this way. British industry pays 4 times as much for electricity as America does. You have the highest electricity rates in the world, a consequence of a choice of going net neutral. Nothing will kill a modern economy faster than high energy prices. And the country that invented the steam engine now has some of the highest energy prices on the planet. But above all, 14 years of conservative control didn't preserve the British nation. This country's conservatives thought it was their moral duty to allow anyone from the third world to move here. They didn't need to hold Western values. They didn't need to have useful skills. They could go on welfare immediately. Just last week, Keir Starmer announced he's changing the law to make sure immigrants who commit crimes are deported, because the conservatives never actually bothered passing that law themselves. The dying out of the British nation means the dying out of Christianity. Britain is the birthplace of Baptists, Methodists, Presbyterians, Anglicans, Quakers, and more. I would guess that more Christian denominations trace back to Britain than any other country. But soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. I think that will be a catastrophic change, and everyone knows it. That's why it's only Muslims moving to Christian countries, never the other way around. I don't want America to go the way of Britain. I want us to remain free. I want us to remain rich and innovative. I want us to remain Christian. I don't want Americans to be replaced. But forget what I want. This is what the American people want. And in a democracy, the people are supposed to get what they want. The very same people that lecture us about democracy have a lot of problems with the consequences of democracy when the people vote a way that they don't like. And that's where Donald Trump comes in. When I was growing up, people would say that Britain was where America would be 10 or 20 years in the future. What they meant was that Britain was more left-wing than America, but we'd catch up eventually. That's just how things were over time, and nothing could stop it. I don't hear people saying that anymore. Donald Trump is the reason why. Almost alone, Donald Trump has changed the course of history. He's destroyed the assumption that the left's victory was inevitable. Under President Biden, more than 10 million illegal aliens entered America. Guides were published on TikTok explaining how to break into America. Say some magic words at the border, and nobody would stop you. Entire neighborhoods of American cities were turned over to migrants living on the dole. America was treated as a pile of wealth for the rest of the planet to plunder at will. Now that is all stopping. President Trump has cut border crossings, not 90%, not 99%, but 99.9%. For years, my country's leaders lied that the southern border was an unfixable mess. President Trump exposed them all as liars within weeks. But closing the door didn't fix the damage that Biden did. We have well over 10 million people in America who should not be in America. If somebody breaks into your home, you don't fix the problem by closing your door and locking it. Things aren't fixed until the burglar is kicked out. And President Trump has been fighting harder than ever to make that happen. But I'd be happy if we fought even harder. Of course, illegal migration isn't the only threat facing America. In Joe Biden's America, we had the tyranny of DEI. Even though America's Constitution explicitly forbids racial discrimination, our government ordered people to do it anyway. People were denied jobs and denied promotions. Kids were shut out of universities based on the color of their skin rather than their ability. Companies were denied federal contracts because their owners didn't look a certain way. People who didn't discriminate enough in hiring could be sued by the government. Every company in America lived in fear of their government deciding to target them for offenses against DEI. Trump has ordered DEI to be torn down, but I want him to tear it down faster. I want every university told that they're losing all federal dollars immediately if they don't stop racial discrimination. I want the Department of Justice to start auditing every federal contractor to find DEI and shut off contracts immediately wherever we find it. This is a kind of cancer that cannot be phased out. It must be ripped out from the core. The same goes for the toxic social contagion of transgenderism. In Joe Biden's America, public schools and medical organizations were co-opted into endorsing this insanity. They urged children just 10 years old or younger to take barely tested hormones and surgically alter their bodies. In some of America's liberal states, a parent who objects to their child's transition can lose custody. I've met detransitioners who escaped from this social poison. They tell me that getting sucked into the first place was the greatest mistake of their lives. President Trump has taken steps to stop promoting this lunacy. He's acted to protect women's sports, another POI I meant to make. She said it's only a couple dozen. 890 biological men have stolen awards, trophies, and championships from women in America. It's not a couple dozen. Over 890 women were displaced by pervert men. That's why I want Donald Trump's administration and why I support it. It's mostly what I've gotten. But but I want more of it. I'll be honest. We, the American people, we want more deportations. We want more peace deals. We want more woke colleges defunded. We want more DEI parasites to lose their jobs. The American people voted to put America first. And you know what? You should all too. This is my final point. Do I have to stop? Okay. I mean, you should want to, no, it's fine. I don't know the rules. It's fine. You should want to preserve and restore the greatness of Britain. You should want the decline to stop, and you can make it happen. Starmer wouldn't be saying what he's saying without what President Trump is doing. If you were honest with yourself, if you want a great Britain again, not a mediocre Britain, if you want a Britain that you could be proud of, you should all be wearing MAGA hats and cheering Donald Trump on every step of the way. Thank you very much.